Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 3.11 countdown announcement, where we are getting blue today. You can see I have come appropriately decorated with the help of my little ones. I am about as blue as I can get without actually transforming myself into Zizaran. This is as blue as I can be. This is it. This is the hype for the Blue League. So welcome. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blue League. Please leave if blue offends you. If blue is just over the top. If blue is too much, then there's the red X button. It's very friendly and it calls to you presently. Welcome. So, a couple of things here today. First off, shout out and welcome to everybody who's participating in chat so far. This has been a wonderfully exciting day and exciting weekend. Hopefully it's been exciting for you all. It's been exciting for us. We've got the countdown timer. It is live above my slightly blue forehead. So we are 33 minutes and 12 seconds, 10 seconds away from the announcement. So today what we're going to do is we're going to chat for roughly the next 30-ish minutes or so about some predictions that we've got. And then, of course, also discuss some of the comments that you all have left on our most recent post about what would be disappointing for you. But, of course, as I must always do, I have to remind you guys, if you enjoyed the stream, make sure that you hit that like, subscribe, and ding the bell to be notified about more discussions and more silly live videos just like this one. If you don't like blue, then make sure you give it a thumbs down. Make sure you smash that thumbs down. Nobody will ever tell you to exercise your free right to smash that thumbs down button. So feel free to exercise that right today. If blue is something that is antithetical to your human experience. So welcome to Blue League. I was debating getting some face paint and doing blue stuff all over the place and bluing up the hands and essentially becoming a member of Blue Man Group. And then, you know what? I just decided, I've got some speaking engagements this weekend and in the upcoming weekends. I don't want to risk like dyeing my beard or my mustache or my hair or my face and then having it stay that way, permanently, or basically permanently for an extended period of time. I did not want to take that risk. So that's why, with the help of the kids, I've got a blue. This is not actually a bandana. I'll let you guys guess what kind of apparel this is. You guys can feel free to guess in chat what kind of apparel you think I'm wearing on my head. And then with some helpful arts and crafts supplies, we got the facial features down. So that's the plan for today. We're going to discuss 3.11, and we're going to start off with this discussion post that we posted a couple of hours ago. We are just under 4 hours from PoE 3.11 being revealed. A great discussion question came up today in our G3 Discord, which those of you who are aware of our G3 Discord, I'm sure many of you are aware of our G3 Discord. There is a link to join that down below in the video description. Also, big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. I think we're getting close to another goal getting reached. I think we're at 35 or 36 Patreon supporters, so big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters over on Patreon. But you don't have to be a Patreon member in order to join our G3 Discord. So we were having this discussion on our G3 Discord today. What would Grinding Gear Games have to do to disappoint you with 3.11? So what would they actively have to do? Like, if the announcement comes out today and you walk away from today's announcement, from today's stream, and you're like, you know what? That doesn't excite me. That's actually kind of a bummer. I'm not really that thrilled by it. Like, what exactly would you say is the summary statement of what would make 3.11 disappointing to you? Like, what would GGG have to announce today that you would say, you know what? I'm going to pass. Or you know what, that doesn't excite me. Or you know what, that actually makes me incredibly skeptical about that. So we took a look at some of these different questions here. I've read through some of these. Maybe you guys have gone in and added more. Maybe you guys have dropped some chats as well. So feel free to leave me chats. I'll try to keep up with chat today. Generally on announcement days and on patch note days, it's really tough for me to keep up with chat because there's so many of us who gather together as a community who all want to chat together. And so I love that. I'm glad you guys are chatting. I'm glad we're all hanging out. I will do my best to keep up with you guys. But for right now, we're going to take a look at these comments and then we'll do our best to respond to each one in turn. So, Tess Seeger 2000 says, I think I will take almost anything that isn't gotta go fast league. I don't think I want a defense league like Blight either, but my main problems with Delirium were the completely destroyed economy and how insanely profitable simulacrums were. I felt like I had to compete with Herald Stacklers all league and like I was an idiot special snowflake for not rolling one myself for the longest time. As long as they leave clusters in the game and fairly accessible, I am by no means done with experimenting with them and can probably have fun with those for another league or two, regardless of the mechanic. All right, so that's a great point, Test. I think you and I share at least some of these opinions here. I am very, very skeptical of another gotta go fast league. Maybe more of this will come out here as we discuss this today. I really enjoyed and feel like I ramped up my own PoE engagement by 100-fold during the 2019 development cycle. Betrayal, Synthesis, Legion, Blight, and then eventually Metamorph going into 2020. I feel like those 5 leagues and really those 2 major expansions, especially with the Forsaken Masters, and then again with Metamorph and the Awakener of the Worlds, I feel like those 2 big expansions in those last 5 leagues really have done a lot. That being said, since Synthesis, like a lot of PoE has dropped off. So I would say for me, while there's some aspect of like the 2019 as a whole was like a big ramp up for me, I would say that starting with Legion, like I played the hell out of Legion. And just couldn't get enough of ED Contagion, of Essence Drain Contagion Trickster. And for a long time, that was actually my highest level character. And it was incredibly fun, but it was mostly fun because of the way, how shall I put this? It was mostly fun to me because of the fact that you could engage with the league mechanic and engage with the league overall in a softcore trading mechanism if you were top ranked or if you weren't ranked at all, if you were like just getting started. Low level Legion farming was a way that players at every skill level could get started with their bank. And I really like low level banking strategies and low level farming strategies. I think they're actually very, very good for the economy of the game. That's just my opinion. So when I look back over the 2019 cycle where I have again ramped up a lot of my involvement in PoE and a lot of my game time in PoE, I actually look back even further beyond 2018 or 2019 to look into 2018 because really Delve and Incursion were another 2 leagues that really got me hooked into PoE from an engagement standpoint and from a gameplay time spent standpoint. And none of those leagues were Zoom leagues. Like Legion was probably the last Zoom league where I felt like, yeah, this is a league for me and I really need to be in this. To be honest, and I'm going to say this, and I know a bunch of you are going to disagree with me, that's totally fine. I'm not saying something that is dictatorial or is saying you need to agree with me on this. I'm simply saying this is where I'm at. I played Delirium incredibly passionately for about 1 month, about 4 to 5 weeks, and then my engagement pretty much acted like the market when whenever the market crashes. Like my time spent in Delirium League just crashed. So much so that I actually went over and started playing solo self-found. And even leveled up a couple of characters in hardcore. Just because the softcore trade side of things were so dominated by a couple of different builds and the trading environment wasn't that great. Like there's so much currency over there in Delirium League and there's so much pressure to be top tier speed boy. I didn't enjoy that. Personally, I didn't enjoy it. So that's just me. I enjoyed the things that Delirium Orbs added. I enjoyed the Simulacrum as an event and as something that you could farm. But what I didn't enjoy was the Zoom style of content that seems to be ramping up in Path of Exile. Metamorph did a pretty good job of slowing things down. But in many ways, Metamorph, what it did was it killed bow builds. Like, you'll notice now, people are still playing Zoom builds. People are still playing speed clear builds. But they're not playing them as bow characters, as Magic Find characters. And supposedly that means that we've killed the Magic Find meta. That's not what's happened. The Magic Find meta is still alive and well. It's just not based on increased item quantity or increased item rarity. It's just based on never ever dying and running the highest tier content that you can that will pump out the most amount of currency possible, which are simulacrums or tier 19 maps. Lots of different options for you. So that Magic Find meta that was like something that people were complaining about, people were disinterested in playing because bow builds were the way to go, and Wind Ripper, Tornado Shot was like the meta for so long for those sorts of builds. Those are all Zoom type mechanics. Regardless if you could put Delirium Orbs on a map, Delirium itself with a mirror is a Zoom type of mechanic. And I personally am pretty over Zoom mechanics. We have seen some less intense designed gameplay with less intricacies and with less side games over the last year to year and a half. Synthesis was really the last time that GGG released a system for us to interact with beyond mapping. Yes, there's been the laboratory with Tane through Metamorph, but that's not an alternative to mapping. You still need to go into maps and do it. It's not a competitor with mapping, right? You have to farm in maps in order to get your Metamorphs, in order to then go fight them in the lab. Delve is something that's an alternative to mapping, right? Alva experiences and Alva temples. Like, Alva temples in and of themselves are so large that they can take, for some players, an entire play session, depending on how fast your build is, an entire play session to go through an entire temple, right? So again, these like massive gameplay systems that have been added into the game, whether it's Betrayal, whether it's Alva, whether it's Bestiary, whether it's Delve, or whether it's Synthesis, those are the types of grandiose, spectacular, ambitious leagues that I enjoy. Oftentimes they're very difficult to understand. Oftentimes they're not new player friendly. I'm going to quote Beckett the Hymnist here though, who's one of my good friends and has taught me so much about PoE. I would not be playing PoE if it wasn't for Beckett the Hymnist. So one of the things that Beckett talks about is he talks about how PoE is like the elitists version of an action RPG. Like, it's the elitists action RPG, right? And in a lot of ways, that'll turn off some players, right? But for me, that's a turn on, right? That's something that I'm looking for in PoE. I want something that's difficult. If a league is going to last 3 months, I want something that's going to take me some time to sink my teeth into and enjoy, and maybe even still have some mystery even after interacting with it for a few months. I love when people come out and find new recipes or find new particular intricacies of various different combinations of uniques or of divination cards or of recipes, right? That's fun. Like, finding those little Easter eggs inside Path of Exile is one of the things that we all enjoy as a community, is discovering those intricacies inside the game. Sometimes they're a bug, but oftentimes they're not a bug. They're a feature, and they've just been hiding there and nobody's found it yet. Those sorts of things are available when GGG introduces grand, ambitious leagues. When GGG just says, hey, here's another league that's got added monster density. It's got a bunch of new currency that it's going to spit out, so that way you can craft your own stuff or buy whatever you want on trade. And we're just going to add a whole bunch of power creep, which is, by the way, that's exactly what Delirium was. It's here's a bunch of currency, it's here's a bunch of monster density, and here's a bunch of power creep. It's fun, and it can be fun, but oftentimes it's not necessarily going to be the sort of stuff that I particularly enjoy. That doesn't mean you don't have to enjoy it. I'm just saying, from me, that's my perspective. All right, so that's Test's comment. The second comment is from Lootmaster1337. We decided that every server now runs like SG server. Also, trade only works between 5 to 10 a.m. to help the servers. If Grinding Gear Games does anything to make trade worse, I'm pretty sure half of the player population, at least in Softcore Trade League, would leave. Like, they would just leave. Because a lot of players play this game and only get upgrades through trade. That's the only way that they get them. So I think you're right, Lootmaster. If we saw that today, to your point, you're answering the question. If that was revealed today, if Chris Wilson goes, hello, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games, And today, we're announcing Path of Exile 3.11, the biggest expansion yet, where we'll be nerfing trade and making it so that way you only can trade from 5 to 10 a.m. Australian time in order to lighten the load on the servers. If Chris said that, I mean, GGG would be a sunk ship, right? Like, everybody would leave. At least a lot of people in Softcore Trade League would leave. Maybe that would be a good thing for the solo self-found community and for the hardcore Trade League community. Probably people wouldn't go from softcore to hardcore. But anyway, I think you're absolutely right. That would definitely be something that would be disappointing. Spencer says, this last league was the first where I lost my drive so much I quit early because of mid-league nerfs. So as long as they don't do that again, haha. Yeah, Spencer, I'm in agreement with you. It was a big turnoff to me, and I recorded my reactions live, posted them here on the channel. Like, I was not pleased with the changes and the bug fixes that happened to a particular build. The build was still broken, even after the fixes. Right, so as much as at the time we all were saying, oh, this is secretly a nerf, even though it's a fix. I mean, the build was still absolutely busted, right? The Herald cluster jewel stacking build was still absolutely busted. But that being said, that was a big turnoff. One of the things that I've grown to love about grinding gear games over the years is their consistency, and I really like being able to stand by statements like when I tell new players. Oftentimes new players will come in and say, oh, this is an active game, this is a games as a service sort of model, which means they're going to have updates and patches, and that's going to nerf things that are good, right? One of the things that I love being able to brag about PoE to new players and to newcomers to the game is, hey, it's not. They don't mid-league nerf stuff. They don't just update patches and try to sell you MTX. They set a rigorous schedule and say, hey, we're going to nerf a whole bunch of stuff and buff a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to make all of these changes at one particular point in time, and that's during major patch announcements. And then after that, you're good for 3 months. Like, you don't get that in WoW, you don't get that in Diablo, you don't get that in, I don't know, insert whatever game you want to play there. Insert that in PUBG, insert that in Fortnite, insert that in League of Legends. Shoot, they probably nerf and change hitboxes in Rocket League and in Magic the Gathering. Like, if there is an online game that has a multiplayer component to it, it's probably getting nerfed on, if not a weekly basis, nerfed and buffed and changed. On a weekly basis, it's probably at least a bi-weekly basis, right? Unless you're Wilson. But that's another story. So that's one of the things that I really that is attractive to me about grinding your games as a company and about PoE. And so, Spencer, I'm with you. That was a big disappointment. And I think, Spencer, that was about the time when I started to go, you know what? I can play my Herald stacking, Cluster Jewel stacking, amazing Aura stacking guy, and it's amazing, and I don't die to hardly anything, and I could probably play this guy to like level 100 if I really wanted to. But I want to play something to level 100 because I find it fun. I don't want to play something to level 100 because, oh, it's just OP and broken. Because the game developers didn't design for that to actually be an intended thing. Now, that might put me in a special snowflake category, so be it. But I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, Spencer. Comrade Disc says, if they add more things to complicate damage scaling even more. Personally, I never ran any endgame content since Betrayal because my DPS is below 50k and my character is simply unable to reach it. Yeah, so Comrade, here's an interesting dynamic. Okay, here's an interesting dynamic. For a long time, Path of Exile was a game that didn't have enough of an end game, and players were crying for it. Okay? Players were all through, well, not all through, I shouldn't say all through, about halfway through the 2.0 development cycle, and then basically all the way from a 3.0 cycle on. Players have been asking for more end game content. And even today, you hear us talk about, we want intricate side things besides just the Atlas. Some players do. Not everybody, but some. So I'm with you. I think this is where low-level farming actually comes in. When you go back to Betrayal, you could say in Betrayal and in Legion, those were two leagues that you could low-level farm repeated instance zones and garner currency for your character to then push either self-crafting your stuff or trading, interacting in a trade league. you could do that, because even if you didn't have the DPS to go take on endgame content, you could do the low-level content, build up your currency pool, buy equipment that would then push you past DPS checks, past defensive checks, and go take on that content. Since GGG has taken this attitude since Legion League that we don't want repeatable, farmable content to be a thing, it's really interesting. It's really interesting because now players still farm repeated content. Like we saw that with the Delirium League statistics, right? Players are still farming Jungle Valley map or whatever map it is that determines to be like the most linear, the most straight line. Like that goes back to the days of Strand and goes back even beyond that to the days of like ledge racing, right? Players will try to do whatever is the path of least resistance in order to get to wherever they're going, right? So there's something to adding end game stuff that's difficult, but there's also something to adding a way that players can gradually build themselves and their character and their currency pool and their items to reach that end game version of stuff. And so I would say now the game is just repeatable. It's just not repeatable at a low level. Either you get a really, really good build and you push for that end game stuff, or you feel like crap because you can't access a whole bunch of the game. So hopefully that won't happen today for you, comrade. Hopefully nothing will disappoint you today. Ole says, so we will finally nerf melee so hard that it gets deleted. Ole, I've actually been playing a gladiator in solo self-found hardcore. And I've been playing him as a true melee character, where I've been running up to stuff and attacking it. Right now I'm using Consecrated Path. It's playable. I'm playing on hardcore. I'm nearly to maps, or did I make it to maps? I don't remember. I think I'm like Act 8 or 9. I think I'm at Blood Aquas. Maybe I'll do a stream with that in the upcoming days. But my point being, melee is still there. You can play other skills except for Cyclone. If you're in Trade League, then yeah, it's like Cyclone or everything else feels awful by comparison, or at least feels a step down by comparison. So it's interesting, like, if now is the time to meme and nerf melee, like they gotta nerf Cyclone, right? I mean, we're getting a little bit into the predictions and projections of 3.11, which we'll get into here in a few minutes. In a few minutes, I'm going to ask you guys for your predictions. So if you want to drop your predictions in chat, feel free to do so. But that's coming in a few minutes, where we'll talk about predictions for 3.11. But if they leave Cyclone the way how it is and they nerf other stuff in melee, like at that point it is just a meme. Like they're just doing it just to mess with us. Waku Jitsu says, if they didn't add cluster jewels, I would be pissed. Okay, so here's the good news, Waco. I'm fairly certain that they designed cluster jewels to go core. I've teased this out the last couple of streams. I personally think that everything that they are doing right now is building towards PoE 2.0. That's what I think. I think everything is building towards 2.0. So I think that blight maps are probably building towards an alternative mapping system that already comes with like preset league configurations built into the map. I think that's what blight was about. I think Metamorph was about spreading a particular league mechanic onto multiple different packs that will inhabit that map, right? So like blight monsters or something, or abyssal monsters or something, right? I think that it's at least a testing of technology to see what they can do with PoE 2. I think Grinding Gear Games has shown that on multiple different levels, that they like to test stuff before they release it. So that's what I think is going on here with Cluster Jewels. I think we didn't see what PoE 2's passive tree is going to look like at ExileCon, and I think the closest best preview we've got to what the PoE 2 passive tree is going to look like is actually Cluster Jewels. Whether that's the notables that are on the Cluster Jewels, whether that's the way how Cluster Jewels interact, maybe the passive tree in PoE 2 will be more moddable, I don't know. My point is I think they're testing stuff, testing the waters, getting ready for PoE 2, which means that stuff is going core. I think Cluster Jewels are going core. If Cluster Jewels don't go core, I would be shocked. And if they don't go core, I think it's because they would take the incursion treatment or the bestiary treatment. Hey, we're going to pull these back for one league, and then we'll bring them back after a league where we've had to work on them. All right, let me grab a drink. All right, Michael says, honestly, GGG would have to do a lot to make me disappointed with the 3.11 announcement. I've been playing since 3.11. and I have played increasingly more and more each league. I'm pushing for my first 40-40 this league, and last league I struggled with 36 and 40. It would have been pretty catastrophic, like brick my PC, from playing the game. Kinda bad for me not to want to play. I guess imagine early delirium. Yeah, with all of the delirium problems. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, Michael. At this point, we're not going to know any of that information today, right? We won't know how the new league is going to play today. We're not going to know that until patch day, right? Until June 19th, if that's still the same day, right? Jimmy says paint forehead blue or riot. You guys still haven't guessed what this article of clothing on my head is. You guys haven't gotten it right. You guys just keep missing it. We've been live for what, like 40 minutes, and you guys can't even guess what's on my head. All right. Simeon says add more splinters. Yeah, is anybody else sick of splinters? Like breach splinters, simulacrum splinters. Like they made simulacrum splinters 300. I was flipping simulacrum splinters for a good portion of the league to fund my builds, and that was awful. It was awful when you were trying to break up a stack of simulacrum splinters as well. That was terrible. My wrist is like, my wrist is enjoying a pleasant vacation from that right now. D. Kronk says, I liked Delirium. I just didn't like how bad it felt if you played anything but a speedy boy. It took me until my 4th character to have something that felt good with the league mechanics, so please, just something that feels good on a multitude of builds. See, D. Kronk, I feel like this is where Delirium got it right. Delirium got it right in that it gave us a bunch of cluster jewels to create a whole bunch of different builds. That's where Delirium got it right, in my opinion. That's what I enjoyed. They got a lot of other things right. The fact that simulacrums didn't just crash from the get-go, like if anybody played breaches, then there were times where you'd lose like a whole breach back during Breach League. Like you'd go for the endgame fight and you just lose the entire instance. Like the fact that simulacrums don't do that, at least on a widespread scale, is pretty nice for consistency. So there were still some technical things that they could improve with Delirium, as always. But for the most part, I think they got Delirium right. Where I think they got Delirium wrong was, they had just said in Metamorph, and they repeated it again for Delirium, we want to slow down the league. But then Delirium Orbs made content so difficult, it was tough for a lot of players to interact with Delirium Orbs. And so players would just continually farm the mirror, and the mirror forces you to play some kind of Zoom build. So, like the cluster jewels allow for a multitude of builds, but the mirrors don't. Gene says, can you schedule the YouTube live? Yes, we did that. Gene. Thank you so much for that suggestion. That was a good suggestion today. Okay, Eris says, eagerly awaiting. Thanks, G3. Tinda Kappa says, server instability, new mechanics not working, trading sites down is almost a given for the first few weeks. Yeah, again, we're not going to know that today, right? We're not going to know that due to the announcement. If they obscure this league's content, I'm straight up skipping the league. Okay, there you go. So if the league content is obscure. Mr. Raw Dog says they need to make clusters non-stackable and megalomaniacs and voices limit to only 1. If they don't do that, I won't be able to play 311. The league will be unplayable for me. Wow. That's a strong statement, Mr. Raw Dog. That's a strong statement. That's a strong statement. I think it is. Like, to say that you're not going to play it if they don't do a specific nerf or a specific change, I don't know. I don't think I would go that far. Okay, so for those of you who are crying out for 3.11 predictions, now is the time. Now is the time to make your last minute 3.11 predictions. Drop a prediction below in the chat about what the name of the league you think is going to be. What do you think the name of the league is going to be? And then what do you think the league is going to focus on? Do you think it's going to focus on bossing? Do you think it's going to focus on repeated low-level farming? Do you think it's going to be like an alternative to mapping? What do you think it's going to be? My Way or Riot? You're right, Jeffrey. Yeah. Oh, obscured. Thank you. Thank you, Tinda, for pointing that out. Is it supposed to be a crown, says Daniel. No, it is not supposed to be a crown. It is not a crown. It's just a blue something, but you guys still haven't guessed what it is. I can't believe you guys. My kids were laughing as soon as they saw me put this on. It is not a turban. Oh, are you guessing Corona League? There you go. The Void League. Hey, welcome, Bad Touch. Welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. It's going to be called Need for Speed. Yeah, there you go. Synthesis 2. We could only hope it'd be called Synthesis 2. So I'm going to take you boys back. I'll take you back to a simpler time. A time when Path of Exile Synthesis was the league. It ran from March 8th until June 3rd of 2019. So, this is poetically, this would be what, a year and a day? A year and a day to the end? Or a year minus 1 day to the end of Synthesis League. If Synthesis could come back, it would be amazing. Guys, it's not a bandana or a do-rag. It's not. It's not a blue doctor's cap. It's not a blue hard hat. It's not hard at all. In fact, I bet you guys will get it as soon as I take it off. If I take it off, you guys will just nail it. If I take it off, oh my gosh, how bad are my breathing lines? My head needs to breathe. All right, so this is what it looks like on me. They're not boxers, Chip, but it's close. Oh, these are old diapers. Old diapers. Ancient diapers. Ancient cloth diapers is what it is. Swimmer's cap? A blue body condom? No, that's just my skin, Jeffrey. My whole skin is just a blue body condom. The slightly balding forehead. Yeah, I should have warned you guys. Sorry, I was going to expose the balding forehead and you guys were going to get blinded. Sorry about that. Old as in use, says Roderick? Of course. You think I'm just going to have diapers in my house that I haven't had my kids use? What are you? You think I'm some kind of barbarian? No, I'm gonna use the resources that I've got available to me. Guys, come on, haven't I taught you anything about trade? About principles of trade, that you use the commodities available to you. Diaper League now. Oh. So I think synthesis would be poetic, right? June 3 of 2019. So today's June 2nd of 2020. It's 1 year minus 1 day. So, in Synthesis, in that league, the players encountered Cavis and fragments of lost memories. Wait, I need my Australian accent. Wait a second. Or not Australian, New Zealand. My apologies. No offense. I'm sorry, GGG. Please don't destroy my RNG for the upcoming league. I'm sorry. All right, I got some water. All right. Let's see if we can do this. In this league, the players will encounter Cavis and fragments of lost memories scattered across the world. Players can enter a memory that leads into a subzone, where they must move fast to stabilize and capture the crumbling memory. These memories are then used in the memory nexus to create paths that lead to other places of memory. All right, that's it. I can't do it anymore. Hello, good eye here. G3 Iron from Down Under. Oh, man. The accent is not strong with me. Look at this league, though. Oh, this league had so many good mechanics. Okay, it had the memory nexus. It had the fractured items. It had synthesis items. I mean, it was so ambitious. It was almost too ambitious. Bottled Faith. Hey, how many of you in chat are using Bottled Faith? By the way, you have synthesis to thank for that. How many of you use Maloney's mechanism as a leveling tool for you in your offhand for like for extra gem slots? Like synthesis, okay? Circles of Anguish. How many of you use the various circle rings? Circle of Fear, Guilt, Nostalgia, Regret. How many of you use those? I bet a lot of you, okay? They're still around and they're highly desirable. Offering to the Serpent is still somewhat used, but not much. Here's Truth is used a little bit. And then, of course, Nebulous. Nebulous, right? Man. There are so many good things in Synthesis League. All right, so let's go over here. Let's go find it. Do we have the announcement? Is the announcement live? It is. Okay, Harvest. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Harvest League. All right, let's do this. Let's make some quick swaps. Harvest? What is this? All right, I'm totally taking a picture of this right now. All right, there we go. Harvest League. Bada boom. We've got a name, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a name. Harvest League. Which one of you called that? Oh, that's right. None of us. Did any of you call that? I don't think so. All right. Harvest logo. There we go. Harvest League. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Harvest? Let's go see. All right, we've got a logo now. Ta-da, we've got a logo. Boom. Launches. It does release June 19th. Okay. That's good news. That's probably the best news that it could be. Is that it didn't get delayed. Right? Let's be honest. That's pretty good news. All right, here we go. Let's make sure that we've got audio turned on. All right, just scream at me, guys, if you can't hear it.
Though this land is shrouded in pain and darkness,
new NPC.
it teems with life. Behold the sacred grove.
Is this Farmville?
With forethought, we may bend life to our will, to remake the world as we see fit. But beware, nature protects itself.
Is this Blight and Bestiary coming together? Is that what this is? What was that? What was that? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What was that crafting? What is that crafting?
But do not forget, whatever you sow, you must harvest.
Hello, I'm Chris Wilson. Okay, get ready for the goosebumps.
In the Harvest League, seek out the seed cache in every area you explore. Take its seeds through Oshabi's portal to the Sacred Grove.
Go to another area.
Sow those seeds to grow dangerous and rewarding monsters.
Create your own monsters. So it's create your own encounter.
Harvest, slaughter them and extract their life force.
Okay, that's Blight. Blight and Metamorph? It's Blight and Metamorph? And Bestiary?
Use this life force to easily craft powerful items.
Okay,
Store
so it's
the leftover life force to fertilize higher tiers of seeds.
so it's like an expansion of your crafting bench.
Discover rare seeds that yield exotic crafting options or dangerous in-game bosses. In addition to many new items and skills, this expansion also contains major revamps to the passive skill tree, war cries, slam skills, brands, and over 50 unique items.
Brands, 50 unique items.
The harvest begins on June 19th.
Slam skills. Okay. First off, he didn't say, hello, I'm Chris Wilson. Why didn't he say it? Why didn't he say it? I was all ready for goosebumps, Chris. All right, so now we got to check the press tour, right? We have to check the press tour. Let's go read some of the interviews. Let's see. PoE Harvest. I mean, like, this is Bestiary plus Blight plus Metamorph, basically, right? The seeds are the Metamorph. And then, like, there's, like, a defense aspect to it. I guess maybe there's not that much of a defense aspect to it. I mean, there's new crafting. There's new crafting here. Okay, in Path of Exile Harvest, Oshabi is cultivating the Sacred Grove, an ancient garden of mysterious power. Plant seeds that grow into dangerous enemies and craft their life force onto your items. So are we going to get new craftable item lines, like new affixes? Okay, so our June expansion contains Harvest Challenge League, new crafting options, 8 new skills. That's interesting. 2 new support gems, revamps of two-handed weapons. Okay, you've got my attention. Chris, you should have said revamps of two-handed weapons. You've got me there. War cries, brands, slams, and the passive skill tree itself. We've also introduced 12 new unique items and rebalanced over 50 of the other ones. All right, so we're going to travel to the Sacred Grove. So Sacred Grove is going to be, it looked like from the trailer. I got to kill the sound as I jump around. It looked like from the trailer we go to this spot. But look at how big this network is. Do you guys see how big that network is? That's going to, whatever you're going to be allowed to craft on that, like, is that a guaranteed tier 1 prefix or suffix? Is that what that is? Okay, I'm going to do some changes here so that way we can look at this full screen. There we go. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, here we go. Alright, so let's take some screenshots of this. I'm taking screenshots and posting them to Discord right now. Where's my Discord? Here's my Discord. Oh, I need to update. I gotta update the channel. It's called Harvest 3.11, right? Okay, so this is one of the crafting. Life Force, what was that? Change a unique armor into another unique armor of that type. Okay, that's an ancient orb, right? Change a unique jewel into another unique jewel. That's augments an item with new influence modifier. Okay. Removes an influence modifier from an item and adds a new influence modifier. Alright, let's see what else was on here. Okay, that's the one that we just looked at. But what can we craft? All right, somebody's going to have to take some snapshots and post it to our G3 Discord. Here we go. Reforges the color of a random socket of an item, turning it green. Augments an item with a new caster modifier with lucky values. Randomizes the numeric values of the random properties of caster modifiers on an item. That is so dang specific. I mean, I guess that's good. I don't know. Reforges the color of a random socket, turning it white. Randomizes the numeric. Yeah, so this is, they showed two of the same type of crafts here. I don't know. Okay, let's keep looking. Plant potent seeds. Seek out the seed cache in every area you explore. Take its seeds through Oshabi's portal. Yeah, so we have to go to another spot. Okay. So those of you who hate load screens, we'll see how they integrate load screens. What? Every monster you defeat in the Grove grants you a crafting option. Performing one of these powerful crafts consumes life force from the monsters you have harvested. In order to maximize your life force and hence crafting potential, you'll want to take on as many monsters as you dare handle. Harvest crafting provides powerful directed crafting to an extent the Path of Exile has never seen before. Increased duration, minus 1% to this value when used. Like, so is that for every use? Is this like a temporary craft? Tribute to the goddess. Travel to the Aspirants Plaza and spend this item to open the Eternal Labyrinth of Fortune. You must have completed the 6 different trials of ascendancy found in maps in order to access this area. Is that a different, like, lab? Is this a lab rework? He didn't say a lab rework. I think they would have said a lab rework. My guess is this is just stuff that's been crafted on, right? It's been... Does not consume sextant uses. Okay, that's added onto a map. That's kind of interesting. Each legion is accompanied by a general. The Beachhead tier 16. Additional unique pieces. Okay. Evolve your Guardian. Oh no, it says Garden. Haha. Guardian nerfs confirmed. As you build the ultimate garden, you'll discover exotic seeds with specific needs that must be met in order to grow. Various pipes, condensers, and dispensers can help you fertilize. Okay, so I gotta say this first off. We wanted something more ambitious. This is something that's more ambitious, right? Right? This is something that we're looking at going, hey, this is going to take us some time to get our head around it. So this is something that's more ambitious. Unearth legendary foes. Oshabi speaks of the legend of 3 primordial beasts, Ursi, Jannar, and Namharim. For those able to cultivate these rare seeds, the immense monsters that emerge can yield harvest's most valuable rewards. Okay, so is this like a wolf crab guy? Cyclone. That was a picture of Cyclone, by the way. A bear guy. Okay, bear guy. We got Cyclone guy against, like, crab, wolf, dragon guy. Here's wolf guy again. Right here, he's shouting. So he's almost like the guys in the Azurite mines who shout. Passive skill tree improvements. The passive skill tree has received many improvements, including better support for some mechanics. For example, two-handed weapons or rage, with both numeric buffs and entirely new clusters or passives. Okay, wait. If all they're doing to two-handeds is giving it new passives, I'm gonna try not to be a hater. If that's their solution to two-handers, There are many new notables and keystone passives, which include both fan favorites from Timeless Jewels and some entirely new ones. Wait, if they're moving Timeless Jewels onto the tree, what are they going to do with those Timeless Jewels? What is that? Violent slams. As part of our two-handed weapons improvements, several melee skills have been recategorized as slams. Here, I'm going to move this back over here, guys. Whoops. I totally did that wrong. Whatever. Screw it. I'm not going to move it over. I'll just keep leaning way in. I'll just keep leaning way in. And I'm going to make the page way big. This is what the old people call way big, by the way. This is the way big. Can I, like, have it so that way it's way big, but not too way big? There we go. As part of our two-handed weapon improvements, several melee skills have been recategorized as slams. Wait, so you're saying that the only way to play two-handed weapons now is just make them slams, right? We've introduced a new slam skill and support gem. Is the support gem just going to mean that, hey, like anything that is supported by is now recategorized as a slam skill? Is that's what we're doing? I have a feeling that's what we're doing now. We're just recategorizing stuff with support gems. I mean, that's fine. It's kind of weird. It's yeah. To me, it's kind of weird. Like, if everything just can be another type of skill because of a support gem, what's the point of having tags? You know? Like, what's the point of having a tag if you can just apply a new support gem to something? I don't know. Maybe that's too limiting in the design space. Somebody who's way smarter than me's got to comment on this. Because I'm not going to get this one. Like, if the solution to two-handers is just to give it, like, hey, your skill is now a slam. You can now use all of the gem tags that require you to use a slam. Like, Brian says, bruh, it's obvious that the support gem can only support active skills with the slam tag. Okay. Did I miss the gem? Where's the gem? I don't see a gem. I don't know. Yeah, what if Cyclone has slam now added as a tag? What if slam now or Cyclone now counts as a slam? Can I use my my ancestral call now? Fist of War support. An ancestor appears above your character to perform a slam in unison with you every few seconds. This causes the slam to deal more damage in an increased area. Okay, so rather than ancestral call, this is like one big hit. Tectonic Slam now only consumes one endurance charge for every third use, making it easier to maintain your endurance charges. You now gain more area of effect per endurance charge. Oh, that's going to be big. I mean, I like a good EQ guy. I like Earthquake. Don't let anybody tell you I don't like Earthquake. I like me some Earthquake. I don't see a gem here, guys. Maybe I'm just missing it. Deafening war cries. We've added 4 new war cry skills and reworked 3 existing ones. War cries now scale based on the power of nearby enemies rather than the quantity. Many war cries also exert your attacks, increasing their power for a number of attacks. Okay, so exert is a new mechanic. That's a new tagline that we haven't had before, to exert something. Seismic Cry. Release a shockwave which taunts enemies and knocks them back. It also grants a buff that makes it easier to stun enemies. Oh, interesting. The buff also exerts your next few attacks. These exerted attacks deal more damage, an area of effect than normal attacks, becoming progressively more powerful with each attack. Okay. Rallying Cry. Release a shockwave which taunts enemies. It no longer regenerates mana, but now grants a percentage of your weapon damage to each of your allies, based on the power of nearby enemies. It also causes your next few attacks to become exerted, granting a bonus to your damage based on the number of allies near you. Lethal brands. We've introduced 3 new brands. Hey! 1 brand support and have revamped existing brands. Yeah, lightning is getting nerfed. We've made brands a lot more versatile while also reviewing how their core mechanics work. Brand Recall no longer reigns supreme, but is a useful tool alongside many new options. Penance Brand. When placed on the ground, Penance Brand will attach to a nearby enemy and become active. Its energy builds up and spreads to an additional enemy nearby each time it activates, quickly dividing and spreading between enemies. When the brand is removed, the energy on each enemy is rapidly released in a series of explosions. Almost like reverse shock. Arcanist Brand. When placed on the ground, the Arcanist Brand will attach to a nearby enemy and begin triggering linked spells in a sequence. Oh, now that's cool. So that, goodbye totem boys, right? Why use a totem to activate various spells when I can use a brand? That's really cool. That's going to be meme enabling, not just build enabling. That's meme enabling. Yeah, are these coming out of brands? Oh my goodness, look how many brands there are. 6. That's 6 brands right there. That's pretty cool. Massive unique overhaul. Okay, the Storm Secret. 30% or 32 intelligence, 30% increased lightning damage, 10% chance to shock. Herald of Thunder also creates a storm when you shock an enemy. Interesting. Herald of Thunderstorms hits enemies with 30% increased frequency. Take 250 lightning damage when Herald of Thunder hits an enemy. Okay, so is that when Herald of Thunder hits the enemy, right? That's not when Herald of Thunder storms hit an enemy. So that should be easily negligible. Doriani's Prototype. Deals no lightning damage. It is a chess piece. Armor also applies to lightning damage taken from hits. Lightning resistance does not affect lightning damage taken. Nearby enemies have lightning resistance equal to yours. Okay, wait. So what's the... Wait. Okay, so what's the rating of this? How is armor going to become a resistance now, right? Armor also applies to lightning damage taken from hits. So does that mean that armor can get up to 90% effectiveness now? And so now you can actually push your lightning resistance up to 90 again? So put your lightning resistance at actually negative 60. This is a great support item, right? This is a good support chest piece. You stack armor, you play a guardian, you stack armor, you have 0 lightning. You have 90% lightning resistance because of your armor mitigation. And then enemies that are around you just blow up from your buddy's lightning damage. You dealing no non-lightning damage doesn't matter if you're playing support. Like, you already have 1,000 base armor off of this. Like, if you have negative lightning resist, by the way, Jimmy, it acts as a more multiplier. Like, that's a more multiplier. You won't die to Baron's Voids now because you've got a bunch of armor. Like, your armor cap can go to 90% physical mitigation, right? So armor also applies to lightning damage taken from hits. We need some clarification on that. We need some clarification on how effective armor is going to be to preventing lightning damage. Like, does it essentially mean that lightning damage is treated like physical damage now? Is that what that means? Moonbender's Wing. Trigger level 15 lightning warp on hit with this weapon. Increased fizz. Increased critical strike chance. Hits with this weapon gain 94% of physical damage as extra cold or lightning. Okay, that's interesting. Wake of Destruction. Drops shocked ground while moving, lasting 2 seconds. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. And you can use them relatively early, so you can shock stuff. Very, very early. Delirium in the core game. Delirium and Cluster Jewels are being integrated into the core of Path of Exile experience. Hey! So some of you can hate that, some of you can love it. Because Delirium stacks with the other League mechanics to make them more difficult and rewarding, the chance of encountering it rises exponentially with the number of other League mechanics in the area. Okay, so you're going to want to stack as many different types of League mechanics in the area as possible, right? The new Vulcan Renderer. Yep, I've been test playing that. It's been fun. So that's good. Last week, we released a beta of our new Vulcan Renderer, which has greatly reduced stuttering and smoothed out game performance. This renderer has made a massive improvement for many players, and we aim to fix issues that other players have encountered before the release of Harvest. This new renderer comes alongside continued graphics technology improvements, such as a new bloom system that is used extensively in the Harvest League. Harvest supporter packs. Okay, so here's the deal on supporter packs. I always have to say this, FYI. Always have to say this, folks. Buyer beware whenever you're buying something on hype day. I typically don't buy my supporter pack until the release of a league, because I want to communicate to Grinding Gear Games, hey, I like what you've released, not just what you've promised. So I've done that spiel multiple times. So just realize that. Just realize that. If you purchase a supporter pack now, you're telling Grinding Gear Games, hey, your marketing has sold me on your product. If you wait to buy it until the product is actually released, then you tell the company, hey, your product actually sold me on your product. That's at least one way to interpret the data. Okay, so let's go and take a look. What are other people saying so far? Where are the... There should be at least one developer interview, right? I mean, I would be shocked if it's not out there. Did IGN not send anybody to cover this? What did you find, boy? My dog found a new squeaker. Apparently. K-Trim, you're right. Cluster Jewels are going to be harder to get. That's just the reality of it. But how much harder? You know, that's a good question. How much harder? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'm trying to make this just a little bit bigger for you guys, so that way you guys can actually read alongside with me. Okay, so here's Polygon's review of it. On Tuesday, by the way, I'm going to put this link down below in the video description. So that way, if anybody wants to go and read it and is watching the VOD, you can go and view it down below in the video description. I should probably also add harvest, right, into the video description. There we go. All right. Let's see what Polygon has to say. On Tuesday, Grinding Gear Games revealed Path of Exile Summer Expansion Harvest. It's going to launch on PC June 19 and the week of June 22 for PS4 and Xbox One. Once Harvest begins, player will randomly encounter seed caches in the world, magical routes that will lead the way, with a seed cache hidden in the area. Okay, so it's going to be like an abyss, right? You're going to follow it. When players interact with the seed cache, it will drop a bounty of different seeds. Oshabi, a new NPC, then offers player to travel to Sacred Grove. So it's a little bit like Abyss, right? We follow something and then we travel somewhere. Each seed has a monster associated with it. Wolf, ape, scorpions, and more. Opening a seed cache somewhere in the world advances time in your garden by 1 unit. This is where Path of Exile transforms from action RPG to miniature city builder. In the middle of every pack of seeds, players should build a collector. When players go to harvest their plants and fight monsters within them, the collector will harness the seed's life force. Players can use life force in a few ways, mostly to craft powerful new effects on their gear. Okay. You guys are talking about herald stacking. Don't worry about it. They'll specifically mention nerfs in patch notes and in development manifestos regarding Delirium going forward. They're not going to talk about nerfs on the announcement of the new league. They're not going to do that. Barrett, I agree with you. It's a garden, not a city. I agree, but I'm just reading what Polygon has written here. Life Force can only go so far when crafting. My dog is actually eating my gaming chair. He's sitting on his bone, but eating the gaming chair. Chauncey, drop it. Okay, get your bone. Get your bone. I'm just randomly going to fall. And you guys, what? What happened? What happened to Iron? Oh, his dog ate his entire chair. Now his dog is feeding on his flesh. This is where the system gets complex. Some seeds require life force from lower level seeds to grow. Harvest offers wild, primal, and vivid seed types. So 3 different seed types. And each creates its own life force. To grow stronger seeds, players need to connect irrigation lines from their collectors to other seed patches. Tier 1 monsters can drop Tier 2 seeds, which are pickier about how they grow. They may need to be nearer other seeds of a like or different color and require a certain type of life force. Okay, so there's going to be a puzzle. There's going to be a mini game to how you grow your garden. But when they grow, Tier 2 seeds provide a more difficult combat challenge and can drop Tier 3 seeds, which are even harder to grow and kill. Some of these monsters even come from the in-development Path of Exile 2 and should be more detailed than current Path of Exile monsters. Okay, cool. By fully customizing each set of seeds, players can select which enemies they want to fight and which crafting bonuses they'll earn from an encounter. Players can harvest 48 seeds at once, some of which contain more than a single monster. But failing a fight means you lose the life force, so players need to be ready before taking on some harder grow operations. After Tier 3 seeds, players can occasionally fight one of 3 boss seeds. The studio is teasing a mysterious hyper-difficult Tier 4 seed, which players will need to discover on their own once Harvest launches. That is a big-ass garden. That right there. Spawns a level 92 monster when harvested. Okay, just realize this might be a new way to level to 100 then, right? If it's spawning monsters that are above eye level 86... this is a new, faster way to level to 100, right? Depending on how many monsters are actually in that zone, right? Zen Garden League, basically. GGG says it wanted to make sure this system would be complex for players that wanted a new type of gameplay from Path of Exile. Hi. While also recognizing that others have no interest in this kind of micromanagement. The studio built the system to function for both types of players. Devoted builders can create incredible, sprawling gardens, while others can occasionally ignore their garden without any punishment. But the goal of the Sacred Grove is crafting, which Grinding Gear Games wanted to focus on over just throwing new items at players like it does every league. Okay. All right, so that's Polygons. That's Polygons news. All right, this is what Shack News. Somebody had just sent me this. Shack News has got this paragraph. Growing tier 2 and 3 plants will be tough, but they'll prove to be worth the effort. They'll yield powerful items and crafting ingredients. The rarity and power level unlike anything you've seen in Path of Exile to date. Tier 3 harvest monsters may even drop seeds for special endgame level boss encounters. Of course, you'll have to earn all of this. Even if the garden layout is perfect, there's still a matter of defeating the monsters that come out of these plants, and the higher the tier, the more difficult the monster encounter. Players can grow up to 48 plants at once, which means they can take up to 48 monsters simultaneously. Okay, so we've got a number count of monsters in the zone. Be careful about biting off more than you can chew, because you'll need to be able to defeat the monsters before you can collect their rewards. Harvest is promising the most advanced crafting system to hit Path of Exile so far. While fans for city builders can enjoy this expansion's emphasis on experimentation, GGG isn't looking to alienate any of its players, so it's entirely possible for minimalists to get strong items too. The idea behind this league is to give players a greater amount of control over what they craft, rather than rely on random drops. I like it. GGG is also hoping to give players an idea of what to expect in the future, as members of the Path of Exile 2 development team also offered a hand with this expansion. PoE 2 devs helped out with the Harvest monster design, so there you go. More about monsters. Oh yeah, it was the agnostic. Who called that? Hey, shout out to whoever called that. This is the agnostic being added onto the tree. Maximum energy shield is 0 while not on full life. Sacrifice 20% of mana per second to recover that much life. Interesting. Okay, so my initial impressions of this are that this is going to be the bastardized love child of Blight and Metamorph and Bestiary. Right? Maybe a little bit of synthesis because they want us to upgrade the items that we already have. It doesn't look like there's an item sink though. Right? There's not something that you can go spend items or craft or destroy items in order to make it. But we'll see. We'll see. Jimmy says, WTF are we going to do with Timeless Jewels now? Yeah, are some Timeless Jewels now just going to be... Are they just going to be Legacy? Are they just going to be bricked? I really don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question. All right, you guys have been asking for it. We've all been looking for it. We've all been wanting it. Let's go watch the Ziggy D video. All right, can you guys see this thing? Whoops. There we go.
Hey, I'm Ziggy D, and here is Path of Exile Harvest.
Behold the sacred grove.
After a league of delirium intensity, things are getting decidedly more cozy. No timers, no clear speed rush. It's time to farm. In Path of Exile's most literal sense of the word to date. Ushabi of the Asmeri has discovered the sacred grove, left behind by an ancient people. The Asmeri people shun superstitious things, so we are her best option in exploring its esoteric power. As we explore the world in Harvest, we'll now be able to discover caches containing a variety of seeds. We can collect these seeds and then take them to the Sacred Grove. In the Sacred Grove, we'll be able to grow our seeds into beautiful crops of monsters. This is Path of Exile after all. What, did you think we'd be harvesting vegetables? Seeds could be planted however you like in the grove, but you'll want to place collectors nearby to harvest the juicy life force when they bloom. When
so that's how you trigger it.
Life force to fuel powerful new
that's
crafts.
how you trigger your plants, is by actually dropping a harvester.
On giving players tons of items as they progress, But with Harvest League, Grinding Gear Games is trying to shift the dynamic. Monsters from seeds in the Grove will drop better loot than regular monsters, but the core reward for this league is from the crafting itself. The philosophy is that rather than processing a large number of rares to find good loot, players will be able to regularly craft themselves powerful upgrades. GGG is aware that if they want to explore turning back constant loot explosions, the crafting needs to be very powerful to compete.
Yep.
Crafting, for example, will include options to create new items with specific modifiers, add guaranteed modifiers to existing items, change sockets, transform currency, and other powerful options for us to discover.
Change a stack of oils
Each
into
seed
another.
harvested
That's interesting.
adds a specific crafting option to the collector, as well as some life items.
Do you guys see this? Change a stack of oils into another random stack. That's pretty interesting.
Change sockets, transform currency, and other powerful options for us to discover. Each seed harvested adds a specific crafting option to the collector, as well as some life force. Life force must either be spent to use crafting options or condensed for other purposes in the garden later. When you make a harvest, you'll need to be ready with items to craft, but the good news is that each seed and plant will tell you what sort of crafts it could give. For example, a plant that specifies a physical craft could reforge an item with a physical modifier, add a physical modifier like a powerful exalted orb, remove a specific physical modifier like an annul, or re-roll a physical modifier like a divine. If you wanted a specific physical craft, you might opt to plant a bunch of the same type of seed to grow for a specific crafting purpose. Each craft costs a set amount of life force, and unused life force can be condensed for...
Okay, so I can already guarantee that within the first week of the league, every single YouTube channel is going to have... Here are the 5 tips you need to know about how to craft in PoE Harvest League. And I'm going to be one of them. Can guarantee it.
Irrigation of other seeds. So let's run through the basic how-to for green thumbing it up in Path of Exile Harvest. As you proceed on your travels, collect seeds from seed caches out in the wild. You can go through a portal to the grove right away, or you can hold onto your seeds for planting later. When you're ready to grow, plant your seeds around a collector. Seeds come in 3 types: wild, primal, and vivid. Plant seeds around a collector of the same type so you can harvest their life force when they're grown. Each seed takes a number of growth cycles to mature. A growth cycle occurs every time you open a seed cache out in the wild. So 5 growth cycles would be 5 seed caches. Once seeds are fully grown, you can activate the collector to fight the monsters and harvest their life force and access...
Okay, so did you guys hear that? There's like a timing system, right? It's something similar to Alva in that regard.
...the crafting options. Make sure to condense and store any unused life force for later irrigation. Some condensed life force can be stored in collectors, but condensers can be built to hold larger amounts. Condensed life force cannot be used for crafting, but it's important for growing higher tier seeds. And on that note, seed monsters will sometimes drop tier 2 seeds. These require more complex gardening to grow to maturity. A tier 2 seed may need to be planted alongside other types of seeds to grow,
I don't know.
And they need irrigation with condensed life force. For this, you can build dispersers connected via piping to your condensers. These will moisten your seeds with life force as needed for them to
you don't
grow.
need to put anything in stash. That's really nice. I'm glad they learned from
seed,
that.
for example,
That's
requires
good.
4 adjacent primal plants, and it needs irrigation with 10 units of wild life force per growth cycle to grow. Tier 2 seeds will offer more powerful rewards, including access to rare Tier 3 seeds. Gardens can be kept fairly simple, growing vast quantities of Tier 1 seeds, or they can be evolved into sprawling factories growing seeds of different tiers.
Yeah, look at that.
Players
That's
who
huge.
enjoy games like Factorio will likely go a little bit nuts over complex planning of gardens.
Okay, so this is
while
their
others should be
Factorio
able to
league. That's a
engage
good
in
call,
simpler,
Ziggy.
more organic fashion.
That's a good call.
GGG says they've tried to layer this mechanic in a way that's easy to engage with basic growing, whilst still allowing for more complex garden builds for players who want to take it to the next level. It won't be necessary to constantly engage with your garden either. You can collect seeds while growth cycles happen in the background and harvest when you're ready.
Yeah.
Nothing will die on the vine, and your plants will patiently wait for you to harvest them. Seeds can also be stored in dedicated seed storage, so no need to clutter your stash.
Yeah, that's nice.
Players will have precise control over the danger of each fight as well, since you'll know ahead of time which seeds you're planting and which monsters you'll be facing. For those wanting a challenge, dozens of plants can be harvested at once, and Tier 2 and 3 seeds will offer more dangerous monsters and boss fights.
Yeah, like
There'll be one
Metamorphs.
boss fight for each
It's
of the
like
3
Metamorph.
types of tier 3 seeds.
Or rather,
Primal, Wild,
Metamorph
and
was the
Vivid.
prep for this.
It's also rumored that there is a rare 4th boss to be discovered. GGG wants to shake things up a bit with Harvest. It's a very different pace compared to Delirium, with elements of the build-your-own encounter gameplay explored in Metamorph. There's a lot less emphasis on being flooded with item drops here, and instead we're being offered what is said to be the most advanced lead crafting system to date. A simple mechanic at Tier 1, along with tradable seeds that have all of their relevant information available in-game, is aimed at getting everyone interacting with it at least on some level. Of course, Gardening League is not the only thing coming to Path of Exile in this expansion. So let's take a look at the new and reworked skills, passive skill tree changes, and new and reworked uniques coming alongside Harvest.
Ground Slam.
First up,
Ground Slam
two-hand
with
melee
the,
is getting some much-needed love. Big, slow attacks have often found themselves at the short end of the stick, despite their usage of really big sticks. Two-handed weapon types are getting buffed, and passive skill tree support is being improved.
Hopefully.
Several melee skills have also now been recategorized as slam skills and reworked, enabling further heavy-hitting support. A lot of these changes will help one-handed weapons as well, but the focus here is on buffing two-handed attack styles.
Yeah, please don't
Fist
let
of
one-handers
War
come
is
out of
the
this
new
better.
support gem for slam skills that sees a spirit supercharge your slam, adding a large amount of damage and AoE
What's
to
the
the attack.
point? If
It has
dual
a
wielding
cooldown,
and
so it
single
works a
and
lot
sword and
better
board are
with
just going to come
slower-hitting
out.
skills like Earthquake.
If sword and board and dual wielding are going to come out of this and still go, okay, but I can use all of these skills as well, like, then they're always going to be better.
Where it'll activate on most of your attacks. Tectonic Slam has been reworked as well, now only consuming an endurance charge every 3 attacks, but scaling its area of effect based on your current total endurance charges.
Yeah, that's
Stacking
broken.
a large number of endurance charges is now more impactful, and maintaining endurance charges is easier, with the attacks being more consistent overall.
Yeah. That's going to be nuts.
Warcries are also seeing a large host of changes. 4 new Warcry skills are being added, and the 3 existing ones are being overhauled. In general, Warcries are being made slower but much more impactful, and more passive skill tree investment options will be available. Several Warcries also now have a new mechanic called Exert, which will make your next few attacks more powerful. Additionally, Warcries now take into account the power level of enemies rather than just how many are nearby.
Okay, so here's time out real quick about the Exert thing. This is something that I like about it and something that I don't. Two-handers need to have powerful hits in order to be differentiated from dual wielding or one-handed, right? However, if you allow for exertions to happen for one-handers or for dual wielding, why won't they just do that as well? Why won't all of the benefits of dual wielding or using a shield and a weapon, why won't those still be a thing? Like, what is it about two-handers that's going to make them exclusively interesting on their own? And maybe that's just something that Path of Exile is never going to have.
As a result, they will now be much more effective against bosses and other difficult monsters. One of the new Warcry skills is Seismic Cry. A fierce bellow knocks back nearby enemies and taunts them. Seismic Cry grants a buff that makes it easier to stun enemies and exerts your next few slam attacks, giving them more area of effect and damage. Rallying Cry's rework aims at giving a lot more support damage potential. Previously, it granted mana regeneration and damage scaling. It no longer grants mana regen, but instead it adds a percentage of your weapon's damage to nearby allies, depending on the power level of nearby enemies. It also exerts your next few attacks. Allies that can be buffed by Rallying Cry's added weapon damage can be other players or minions, such as those summoned by Herald of Purity. Now, aside from the big stick melee, brand skills are also seeing some major new additions and changes. GGG are aiming to make brand builds more interactive, while the most powerful Archmage brand builds will be getting nerfed. New options including 3 new brand skills are being added to the game to open up brand new playstyles. The first of these is Arcanist Brand. Like other brand skills, Arcanist Brand can be placed on the ground and it will attach itself to monsters. The kicker is that Arcanist Brand will trigger any other linked spells, so you'll now be able to turn almost any—
Hey, what's up, Mrs. Draconis? Mrs. Draconis is in chat. Shout out to Mrs. D. Hopefully you're doing alright today, honey.
spell into a brand, even having it cast several different spells in sequence. Another new brand skill coming alongside Harvest is Penance Brand, which is a different take on the brand concept. When the Penance brand attaches to an enemy, it starts building up energy and spreading it to other nearby enemies. When the brand is removed, the built-up energy explodes, dealing physical and lightning damage. Multiple Penance brands will be able to build up energy more quickly, and the design of the skill will let you trigger explosions through brand recall, enemies dying, or brands expiring.
Okay, so Penance actually, Penance reminds me of what I would say mines, like mines versus traps. That's how I would differentiate it. Whereas like Armageddon brand or Storm brand, right, it just does damage as soon as you place it. That's a trap. Whereas it looks like Penance is a bit more like a mine, where it's like, hey, you can set it, but then it's not going to activate until you activate it. My dog has a toy that he should not
Other new
have.
skills and more details on reworks will be coming over the next couple of weeks. Now, while Cluster Duels last league shook up passive skill tree builds, the core passive skill tree hasn't seen a lot of change in a while. With Harvest, the passive tree will be blooming with new opportunities.
What if
In
you do
addition to
Detonate
two-handed
Dead with that
weapon
brand? Yeah,
support
that'd be
and
good.
Warcry nodes, there will be more support for other recent mechanics that don't currently have a lot of passive tree presence. The passive skill tree will also be getting new keystone passives, and some keystones from Timeless Legion Jewels are also being added to the core tree, such as the Agnostic. Legion Jewels will also be seeing some changes as a result. Path of Exile now has around 900 uniques in the game, and this expansion over 50 forgotten or lackluster uniques are being rebalanced or reworked. The Moonbender's Wing unique axe is our first example. It now gives 100% of your physical damage as added cold or lightning for a lot more damage potential. To make it truly unique though, it now triggers lightning warp when you attack an enemy, giving built-in teleport movement to skills like Lightning Strike or Spectral Throw, effectively creating a new playstyle. The unique boots Wake of Destruction were one of the first uniques added to Path of Exile, and they've really fallen behind. The chance to flee mechanic is actively bad, and it's been removed, and instead the boots now leave a trail of shocked ground when you move, allowing you to cause nearby enemies to take more damage. Alongside the 50 or so reworked uniques, Harvest also brings a crop of 12 new uniques for us to farm for. Doriani's Prototype is a big, new unique chest armor that, quite frankly, scares me. Your lightning resistance will no longer affect you, with it instead being applied to nearby enemies. What this means is that you can run around with negative 60 lightning resistance to greatly enhance the lightning damage enemies take. To hopefully stop you from dying, the chest also allows your armor value to mitigate lightning damage in addition to physical. Though this is potentially a very powerful damage boosting chest, getting enough armor to survive lightning damage may prove an interesting build challenge. Following our very apparent lightning theme for uniques today, I can also show the new unique Topaz Ring, Storm Secret. This ring allows Herald of Thunder to trigger its lightning storm effect when you shock an enemy, and it also increases the frequency of the storm strikes. You could indeed wear 2 of these rings and become a serious Avatar of the Tempest, but keep in mind that the ring also deals you 250 lightning damage whenever Herald of Thunder hits an enemy. Although I'm pretty sure some creative players will find some ways of turning this drawback into an actual advantage.
Yeah.
Herald of Thunder cast when damage taken builds, for example, could be something else.
Yeah.
In other news, Delirium will be making its way to the core game, bringing the popular Cluster Duels along with it. Because Delirium was made to interact with other game mechanics, the chance of encountering a Delirium mirror will be tied to the amount of other additional content in the area. So stacking endgame maps with a bunch of extra layers of content will increase the chances of a Delirium mirror appearing. In the lead up to the expansion launch...
I gotta say, I like that in almost all of these, you guys see that it's not two-handers that are being featured. I know it's just the gameplay footage. I know it's zero indicator of what's going to be good. I'm just saying, it's funny to me that they're like, hey, we're redoing two-handers. We don't have that much gameplay footage to show.
Set for June 19th, you can also jump on and test the new Vulkan Renderer beta, which many players have already been reporting is giving solid performance increases. You can actually enable it right now from the graphics option from the main menu to help with testing. And that is it for now.
All right.
Let me know your first impression.
Oh, all right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we are presently 16 days, 22 hours, 5 minutes, and 22 seconds away from Path of Exile Harvest. I want to thank you all for hanging out with us for the announcement stream and for hanging out. Drop us a comment down below with your own thoughts on Harvest and your impressions. I gotta say, my first impressions are like, they're trying something ambitious. But it's not Synthesis 2. It's not. It doesn't have the synthesizer. It doesn't have a way for us to sync our rare items and to craft them and combine them together. So it's going to be interesting. GGG is saying, hey, this is the most powerful crafting that we've ever released. So I want to test it. I want to see what that looks like. And if that's so, then I want to use it and enjoy the hell out of it over the course of the summer before my next baby arrives. Speaking of which, once again, shout out to Mrs. Draconis. She's been an absolute trooper over the weekend. We've been into the hospital multiple times. Baby is healthy. Mrs. Draconis is healthy. But hopefully, God willing, the baby will come healthy and Mrs. Draconis will be okay for the next couple of weeks. But we are still waiting for baby, and hopefully baby's not going to come for a few more weeks. So whenever baby does come, though, I'll probably get a post out on YouTube or Discord and just say, hey, I'm out of here for a bit, and I'll be back on whenever it is that's convenient for our family to do so. Thanks so much for watching today, guys, and I hope that Harvest League is the league that a Mirror of Calandra will drop for you.